Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my mid-month wrap-up, all the books that I've read so far in April. So if you're new around here, I split up my wrap-up into two parts just because otherwise I would really dread making my monthly wrap-ups because it's just too many books to talk about all at once. So these are the books that I've read up as of April 14th. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. Also, if you're new around here, I do my wrap-up stats in the second half of the month wrap-up video. So I'll talk about all the books I've read that month, the stats, how many of each kind of book, and all that in the second part of this kind of video later on in April. Anyway, so far I have read 9 books this month, and the first one I want to talk to you about is The Roughest Draft by Emily Wibberley and siegemund-broka. I really liked this book. When I went into it, someone had compared it to Beach Read, which made me absolutely want to pick it up. And I'm really glad though that someone compared it to Beach Read because it definitely screams rom-com when you look at it, but it is not really a rom-com. It's more literary fiction. It still has an HEA, but it is definitely more literary fiction than a typical rom-com would be. But I absolutely loved it. I thought the writing was really beautiful, like really well done. I think it's so cute that they are actually a married writing duo, and I think that just adds to the story a lot. Anyways, I give this 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was The Flat Chair by Beth O'Leary. This is such a classic. I feel like everyone has read this. I'm probably one of the last people on BookTube to read The Flat Chair, but I am so glad I finally picked it up. It definitely is worth the hype. It is really cute. If you don't know what this book is about, basically these two people are sharing the flat. The female main character stays there at night and on weekends, and the male main character sort of just goes there during the day because he works nights. So it works out really well for both of them and keeps the rent really cheap. This is so cute. I don't even know what else to say about it. I went into it being skeptical because of the hype, and I think it's still worth the hype. I gave this one 4.25 stars. Oh, I forgot to mention that is going to be it is part of a reading vlog that is already out. So if you want my full thoughts as I was reading it, make sure you go check out that video, as well as the next book I'm going to talk about, which is also part of that video, which is Close Quarters by Candy Steiner. I love Candy Steiner's writing, so I knew right away that I was probably going to love this book, but it's also got billionaire, it's forbidden romance, forced proximity. Basically, she is on this ship with her boyfriend, this billionaire's yacht, which she gets invited to as long as she can be the guy who owns the boats, the billionaire, the male main character. As long as she will be on his beck and call for any photographs he might need, then she will get a free trip around the Mediterranean on his yacht and be able to go off the boat whenever he wants. But they start falling for each other, even though her boyfriend currently works as part of the crew. So it's forbidden. It doesn't have the cheating trope in it though, so don't worry. And yeah, I loved it. I give it 4.5 stars. I did not see the plot twist coming. I really enjoyed myself. Then I listened to the audiobook for Go Tell the Bees That I'm Gone by Diane Gabaldon. This is the most recent Outlander book in the last one, and so I'm finally done talking about this series. If you've watched my previous videos, these series are just not for me. There's just so much added dialogue and thought that just doesn't need to be there. Honestly, I did read the entire series. I was enjoying myself quite a bit at first, but I quickly sort of went downhill as the books got longer and just full of plot points that I just didn't care about. I think that for me, I just didn't feel connected to the characters, so I just didn't care when there was a lot of these side quests going on. I have read a lot of books that are huge and definitely have that, like the Zodiac Academy books definitely are way longer than they need to be. But I really like the characters, so I really like those books. this is one of those series that I just didn't feel connected to the characters. I didn't really care. If she does end up coming out with more books in the series, I think that this will be the last one I read anyways. It ended with a good enough ending for me to feel comfortable just leaving the series as is. So I gave this one 3.5 stars. It definitely wasn't my least favorite from the series, but it wasn't my favorite either. I am so happy for everyone who enjoys this series. It's just not for me. Then I read A Wildcard Kiss by Lauren Blakely. This is the third and final book in the Ballers and Babes series, and I loved this book. This is right person, wrong time, and I just haven't read one of those books in so long, and I love them. I think this one may be my favorite from the series so far. I didn't really care about the second one, but I loved the first one. But I think that this one is my favorite. The banter, like everything is so cute with this couple. You just root for them the whole time. You are wishing that their timing was just better. There's so much angst, so much like pining, so I loved it. I love angst in books. Yeah, I give this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Next, I did a reread of Chain of Iron in order to prepare for Chain of Thorns, which I'm currently reading and loving right now. But I love the Shadowhunter world. There's really not much for me to say because I'm just really biased towards this series. It's a comfort series for me. I will read anything that's part of this world and probably love it. I read the City of Bones series as one of my first like big series in high school or actually it was middle school at the time. And it's like my childhood, these books, so I can't be objective about them. I will say, I think I liked this one a little less than when I read it the first time around. I gave this 4.75. The cliffhanger that this book leaves you on is just not nice. And I'm really happy that we finally have the third book, so that can finally be a storyline that is wrapped up a bit. Then I listened to the audiobook of We Were Dreamers, an immigrant superhero origin story by Simu Liu. I love Simu Liu. I actually haven't seen his Marvel movie just because I don't watch a ton of superhero movies, but I really should go and watch it because I love his acting. I loved his convenience, and I was really excited to read this. This was the book that was chosen as part of my book club, and I loved it. I don't typically rate memoirs and stuff like that just because it is someone's personal story, and I just feel weird about rating their story, even though it's really just the rating is more about how it was written. But if I was to give it stars, I think I would honestly give it a 5-star because it was really well written. It was funny, it was heartwarming, I learned a bunch. I learned about his life and his parents' life and how they came to Canada, and it was a really good book. I know the complaints about this is that it starts off too slow, but I really was just interested the whole time, so I didn't find it slow at all. Anyways, if I was to give it a 5-star, if I was gonna give it a rating, I would give it 5 stars, but I just don't typically rate memoirs. Then I read The Nature of Fragile Things by Susan Meisner. I went into this book completely blind, and I recommend you do too, because I was so taken aback by this story. I was not expecting to like it. I just picked up it as an audiobook, as a like historical fiction to listen to in the background because I was feeling something other than romance. After reading the memoir, I just wanted something that was not going right to romance, and I loved this book. I was not expecting to love it at all. I just picked it up and it was so good. The like storyline and plot points between like found family, like it's just so heartwarming and so like it was so well written too, with the flashbacks and flash forwards. I don't want to like say too much about this book because I really don't want to spoil anything. I will say it's a bit of a slow start, this book. Like it does take a little bit to get into it because you're like trying to figure out what's going on, but once you get into it, you'll be hooked. This is so good. I give it 4.75 stars. And then last but not least, I read Look the Part by Julie Ann. This is going to be a reading vlog that is coming out soon, so if you want my full thoughts, make sure you go watch that video when it comes out. But I really loved this book. I loved the characters. The only thing I will say is that the plot I found was pretty predictable, but it didn't really take away anything from the story. It's emotional, just like you can expect from any Julie Ann book. But yeah, I really enjoyed myself, so I give it 4.5 stars. Okay, and that is all of the books that I read so far in the month of April. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what your favorite book of the month was. Mine so far is The Nature of Fragile Things or We Were Dreamers. I'm undecided. I think I would give the slight edge to The Nature of Fragile Things just because I prefer fiction books. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.